Okay, so just continuing with the note that we were doing in class there, let's take a look at how to add and subtract radicals. And down here, we're going to compare that to how to multiply them. Okay, so when we're adding and subtracting them, remember it's nice to look at the actual radical part as a variable. So in order for me to add these things up, I have to make sure that my radicals have the same number. Okay, so it doesn't look like I can add anything up here, but these ones are pretty big radicals. So what I want to do there is I want to see if I've got any perfect squares inside those numbers to simplify them first. So the 7 root of 3 is going to stay the same. The 4 root of 6 is going to stay the same. But my plus 2 roots of 48, I think I got 16 in there, right? That's a perfect square that's in 48. So 48, 16 times 3 gives me 48. So I want to simplify that root so I see a perfect square here that I can take out of the root. Okay. Likewise with the 6 roots of 54, I'm going to rewrite that 54 as 9 times 6 because I see that the perfect square 9 is in 54. Okay, so now I can reduce those. So this stays the same, 7 roots of 3 minus 4 roots of 6 plus, now I've got square root of 16 gives me 4 times 2 is 8 roots of 3. Okay, so the perfect squares that I found in 48 I can take out of the root sign. So square root of 16 gives me 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, and then the part that's not a perfect square I leave under the root sign. Okay, and then the next one minus. Okay, the square root of 9 is 3. So 3 times minus 6 is going to give me minus 18 roots of 6. And looky here, when it didn't look like I could add anything together up here, now I've got some like terms. Okay, so 7 roots of 3 plus 8 roots of 3 is going to give me 15 roots of 3. Okay, just like that root of 3 is an x or a y, I can only put like terms together, right? And here I've got 2 roots of 6, so minus 4 roots of 6 minus 18 roots of 6 gives me minus 22 roots of 6. And that's your answer. Okay, so when you add and subtract radicals, you have to make sure that you only add and subtract numbers that have like roots. Okay, when you multiply, well, multiply and divide radicals, it's a different story. Okay, here anything that's under a radical, okay, or under the square root sign, I can multiply together. So here I can write this as 1 root. 5 times 6 is equal to square root of 30. Okay, so I took those two numbers and just multiplied the 200 together. Okay, so now here 3 times square root of 8 I can make into 3 times 8 is 24. And now I look at this root and I say, well, can I simplify it at all? Are there any perfect squares inside of that? Sure there is. 4 is in there, right? So I can go ahead and write this as 4 times 6 equals 24 under the root sign. And now the square root of 4 is 2. And the root 6 just stays in there. So that's 2 roots of 6. Okay? Another way that you could have done this one is the 4 is in here as well, right? So I could have gone ahead and taken and simplified the 8 to 4 times 2 straight away. And now I'm going to get that 2 on the outside, and look what happens here. Okay, I'm going to get root of 3 times square root of 4 is 2, 2 roots of 2. Okay, and now here this is a little different. Okay, I'm going to get the same answers. It's taking us to our next step. When I have numbers in front of roots that are multiplied, okay, I don't multiply those inside to the roots. So when I go to multiply these two, outsides multiply by outsides, and what's under the radical multiplies what's under the radical. So here I've got 1 roots of 3 times 2 roots of 2. The 1 times 2 gives me 2, and the square root of 3 times the square root of 2 gives me square root of 6. All right, so let's take a look at this one. All right, so I've got 5 roots of 7 times 6 roots of 2. So I'm going to multiply the 5 times the 6 together, gives me 30. And then what's under the root sign? 7 times 2 gives me square root of 14. And on and on. So here I'll do the even ones here, and you guys try and do a couple of the odd ones. Okay. So let's look at number 12. It's just written a little differently, but it's still multiplication, right? Okay. So here I'm going to go. I've got negative 6, and these two brackets together just mean one big root sign, right? Times negative 8 gives me plus 48. Okay. And now square root of 2 times square root of 2 gives me square root of 4, but I know square root of 4 means 2. Okay, so this is really 48 times 2, which is equal to 96. Okay, so let's try one with a square on the outside. So here you have to remember that your square has to hit both numbers. Okay, so here 3 squared gives me 9. And now I guess one way you could do it is to say square root of 2 squared is going to give me 4 on the inside. But really, remember, a square undoes what a square root does. So I can write it like this, but really what I've got there is 9 times 2. Okay? The square root sign is going to cancel, the square is going to cancel the square root sign. They undo each other. So here I've got just 9 times 2 is 18. Okay? And keep going a little further here. What do we got? Okay? A little bit of division here. So when I multiply these two things together, it's like I'm going to put them all under one root sign, right? I've got 5 over 3 times 1 over 12, which is going to leave me with, looks like 5 over 36. So big idea is that numbers that are, when I go to multiply my root signs together, numbers on the outside you multiply together, and numbers under the root signs you multiply together. You don't ever mix. I never go this number times a number on the outside times a number on the inside. That's a big no-no. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop there, and that'll set us up for the first skill next day, and we'll continue with that a little later on. Just a short one for you today, so have a ball.